The Morrie's Automotive Group is here today with the all-new Mazda CX-9 as well as an Audi Q7. Now what I'd like to do is show you around the interiors, the exteriors, and then as well provide you with driving reviews. So the CX-9 we have here today is the signature model, which means it's going to be the top of the line. That being said, going against the Q7, I was a little worried because I mean that car is almost $20,000 more with about the same equipment. Now hear me out before you get too mad. The CX-9 is going to be all-wheel drive and it has a 4-cylinder. I'll show you a little bit more on that later, but so far my driving impressions have been very strong for this car. The Signature gives you so much equipment that you won't even notice that you're not driving one of those German luxury SUVs. From the cool lights up front to the complete redesign on the CX-9, this car, as Mazda puts it, is the alternative luxury vehicle. When you're not thinking about spending that much money on something, I mean, this comes in around mid-40s. That's a lot of car for, again, a little bit of money, but with the alternatives that are out there, it's a pretty good buy. So let's take a look at the rear seating on the CX-9. So now in the back seat of the CX-9, I mean, I'm about 6'1" and I have plenty of room back here. Headroom is not an issue and you do have enough room for 7 people. The third row is easily accessible. As you notice, these back seats also recline. So if you do just have 4 or 5 people and you're going on a road trip, you'll have plenty of room in the back. You could fold these seats back a little bit and just be comfortable to wherever you're going. All right, so let's start with the CX-9. Go for a spin around. Now I have driven this vehicle a few times before, and I have to tell you right off the bat, I am a huge fan of what Mazda's done. Not only is it really comfortable in here, but it's so quiet, and for a 4-cylinder, if you didn't know before you got in the car, you'd never know. When you put your foot down, I mean, it gets up and moves right away. There's no lag, there's no hesitation. For how big of an SUV this is, the 4-cylinder is not an issue at all, so certainly not something to worry about there. I mean, obviously it's not like the Q7 with the 3.0T, but I mean, it definitely for 95% of the time, you gotta think how you're driving. You're not usually doing a bunch of highway pulls, you're not going as fast as you can. You're maybe driving to work and stop and go traffic or picking up the kids, whatever you might be doing, going up to the cabin for the weekend. This is gonna get you better fuel economy that way, and it's also pretty fun to drive. Now, as far as the interior, again, this is the Signature, so this is the top of the line. This interior is so nice. If you took the Mazda emblem off of here, the steering wheel is very similar to the Q7. The controls, I mean, it's very similar to Audi and their MMI, where you have all of it right here in the center. I mean, it even looks the same. The screen, everything is so good with the leather in here, and just the wood that's inside, it's from a Japanese guitar company. So Mazda went all out on what they did with this vehicle with the redesign. I mean, those LEDs up front are so cool, and you have the heads-up display. There's so much equipment for, I mean, around $45,000 or less. This car can do it all. Now from there, a few other things you'll notice when driving the CX-9 is that visibility is good. The mirrors are very large on the side, as well you have a blind spot detection system that also pops up in the heads-up display. One of the other things I found that was pretty cool is on the navigation, it will tell you what the speed limit is on the road. And not that I did this, but if you were going above the speed limit, it turns from white to red to let you know to slow down on the little speed limit sign. Pretty cool. Other things, the gauge cluster, very simple. They don't overcomplicate anything. You have your speedometer, you have your RPMs, you have your instant fuel economy, your different trip settings. There's so much stuff in here that, I mean, it's so easy to access that it's not a confusing vehicle. I mean, the ride and drive is so good. It's so nice on the highway. You have adaptive cruise control. You have all the safety features you'd expect from a German SUV as well. And I mean, the best thing to do is get out and drive one. Now, if you go back to back with this and the Audi or the Volvo, or I mean, even the BMW, there's so much competition. And the SUVs are such a huge part of the market right now that you have to do yourself justice by getting out and driving this and saving, I mean, maybe $15,000 to $20,000. With all the equipment you can get and the looks that this provides, it is definitely one to check out. So the Q7 we have here today is the 3.0T, and it is a 2017. Now, it's hard to argue with Audi right now because of their market share with the premium and luxury SUVs is pretty tough to beat. Now, you do have a lot of competition like the BMW and the Volvo, as well as the Mercedes SUVs, but you know what? I think the CX-9 can be an alternative to these vehicles. While the German sedans do cost a pretty penny when comparing to a Mazda, you are going to get a ton of equipment and really cool features inside this car. The new looks on the outside almost make it look like the Bentley Bentayga to me, which, I mean, for about a quarter, if not a sixth of the cost of that car, it's going to give you a lot of equipment, a lot of reliability now. I know Audi hasn't had the best history, but with the Quattro, it's easy to drive in the winter, it's easy to drive around town, and it does everything right. So let's take a look at the rear seating in the Q7. So now in the back of the Q7, the first thing you have to notice is this panoramic sunroof. Maybe one thing that the CX-9 is lacking, that and the heated rear seats, which is really nice. I do like the USB charging ports in there. This one does have the 12 volts down below. And then also you're able to pull this handle up and you can slide the seat. And similar to the CX-9, they also recline. Now in the back, this is a 7-passenger and the third row is very small. So you'd have to have some smaller kids or else keep those folded down and you can just have plenty of room for hauling. But there's not a ton of room in the back. Where you do have ample headroom and legroom as a second passenger, the third row is a little small. All right, so let's take the Q7 for a spin around. So now don't get me wrong, this is a luxury SUV. As soon as you get in here, there's so much equipment in this vehicle. And again, this isn't quite the top of the line. I believe this is the Premium Plus. So you've got a lot of equipment in here. The leather is super nice. The infotainment system slides up onto the dash when you turn it on, and the seatbelt kind of clicks down on you. So you know you're in a safe car, you know it's comfortable, you know it's gonna kind of do everything you need it to do. The Q7 is really quiet. It does almost feel like a larger SUV just because of that 4-cylinder where there's kind of no turbo lag there. The Q7 does feel a little more substantial, I guess you could say in a way, but I mean, it is an Audi, so that all-wheel drive, that comfort, that traction, you're always gonna have that and it's always gonna be there. And it's pretty fun to drive. You have this drive select here, so you can go from dynamic to comfort to auto. There's so many different settings. That's the one thing. It would take a little while in this to kind of figure out all the equipment in here. With a Mazda, you can jump in and just drive. Where that's more of a car, this feels like more of an experience. And that can be a good thing once you figure it out. I'm not a huge fan of their kind of touch-sensitive pad here. It's a little kind of hokey to me, but it must be something people like because they've been putting it in cars for years now and it seems to work. So, I mean, from there, it just does everything right. Like I said, it's comfortable. The mirrors are large like the CX-9s where you can see pretty good out of the side. The regular dash, everything else that's in here is nice. It's easy to find things. It's not a huge reach away. Like the glove box, the open is on the side here, so it's not in the middle where you can't get to it. They've thought that, I mean, there's simple things when you're driving that you need to access, and they made all that easy. Now the steering wheel, you have the heated steering wheel, you have the navigation, so I have the 2 screens going here. There's, like I mentioned, so much stuff. You could spend 45 minutes just going through some of the equipment in here, and you'd probably get through about half of it. Where the phone mode is easy to plug in, I mean, your Bluetooth streaming, your audio streaming, there's so much stuff in this car, but you're gonna pay for it. Where the CX-9, like I mentioned, is about $15,000 to $20,000 to $30,000 less depending on which German sedan or German SUV you're looking at. This might be the one I would pick as far as the Q7 goes. I mean, you've got the nav, you've got the heated steering wheel, you've got the comfort, you've got room for 7. I mean, it does everything right. Heck, it looks really good as well, but I mean, all in all, it kind of breaks down to what you're looking for. If you want that reliability, Mazda might be a better option. Not to say that this is an unreliable car now, but Mazda's had kind of a better history as far as reliability goes. Audi's had a little bit more as far as performance goes and equipment. This is gonna certainly have more. But that being said, I think you have to drive them both. Give Mazda the fair chance that, hey, I know it's a Mazda and this is an Audi, but they're pretty similar. There's a lot of similar stuff between the two. There's a lot of good stuff that they both do, and it's certainly something to drive. On behalf of the Morrie's Automotive Group, thanks for watching. Now, if you'd like to schedule your test drive in the all-new Mazda CX-9, make sure to call, click, or stop by today. Thanks again for watching, and make sure you buy happy.